were you born?
I was born in Paris, Idaho, Bear Lake County, and I was the youngest of 5 children. I was born to Lars William Jensen and Ethel Finley Jensen. I had 3 brothers and 1 sister. And they all picked on me.
What was your birth date?
October the 11th, 1921.
And what was the order of your siblings?
My
Who's the oldest?
oldest brother was Donniel, and then Dwayne Jensen, then Loy, and then Blake, and then myself.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And you're the only surviving one now?
I'm the only, yeah, I'm the last of the Mohicans.
The last of them, huh? Okay, so you were born in Paris,
Uh-huh,
at home.
at home.
They didn't go to the hospital.
Mm.
Did she have all of her babies at home?
Oh, I'm sure.
Really?
Well, they did in those days, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, so you moved to Montpelier. How old were you when they moved?
I was 3 years old when we went to Montpelier, and Dad got a job for George Stocks. He sold cars and had a big shop, and Dad worked as a mechanic.
And what did Grandma do?
And Grandma was a housewife. That's it.
And a mother.
And a mom.
And
And we lived through the Depression. We had a lot of, we never went without anything. And I always lived in a home with running water. It was modern. A lot of people didn't at that time, but I never knew what it was to have to go out to an outside toilet. We had it was considered a good home for its day. Still standing there.
The home in Montpelier? still
Montpelier.
there?
Oh yeah,
So you know where it's at when you can see it?
indeed.
did you just have one home in Montpelier until you moved back to Paris?
Yeah, that I remember. Uh-huh. And then Dad moved us back to Paris.
How old were you then?
I started my freshman high school
Mm.
when he moved back, and he went into business for himself.
When you were in high school in Paris, did you go to Montpelier High School, or
No, I went to Paris.
there was a Paris high
Uh-huh.
school?
Yeah,
They didn't bus them then, huh?
no,
And how did you like that?
I liked it.
Did you?
I loved it. Uh-huh.
So it didn't bother you to move from Montpelier to Paris?
I thought it might, but I had a
You
good
liked it?
time. Yeah, I liked it.
She was always looking for a fun time, you know?
Yes.
So how many years did you live in Montpelier? So that was quite a few years then.
Yeah, I was in Montpelier for quite a few years.
And
Okay.
then when he moved back to Paris, did he stay working in Montpelier?
Uh-huh. Yep. No. He went into business for himself in Paris.
Oh.
Oh, that's right, he did have a
He had
mechanic station, didn't he?
a gas station and a shop
Mhm.
that he did mechanical work.
Okay.
Later on in his life, he went and worked for Donniel with Jensen Wood, didn't he? Or not?
Yeah, he did.
I thought he did some work
After
for him.
Donniel had a shop in
Montpelier.
while Dad worked some there.
Mm-hmm.
And Blake worked there too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Donniel never did the mechanic thing.
Mm-mm. He sold cars. He worked in
Dwayne.
Pocatello as a mechanic.
Who did?
Donniel did.
Did he?
Uh-huh.
So all of his boys did mechanic work.
Yeah, all but Dwayne.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you do for fun?
I liked to roller skate, and I liked to ice skate. We never skied in my day.
Nobody did?
None in my family.
Mm.
When I was just a little girl, we used to like to go out on the front porch and sing songs and have a little show.
Oh, you were stage bound, huh?
Yes.
How little was that?
Or just a little tot.
Mm.
My friends and I, we'd have a show.
And who were those friends?
Oh, LaNea Andersen and Ruth Oliver and Ann Elva Oliver. And then of course Blake, he had his friends and we all played together. Blake and Jack McLaughlin.
Did they ever pick on you?
Always.
Oh,
Didn't you know how to stick up for yourself?
Oh, I've always been
a victim.
A victim.
a victim.
Do you think that if your brothers and sisters were here that they'd agree with that?
Oh, no.
No, yeah, really. In all fairness.
I know one that would. Frances used to feel sorry for me.
But she's not blood relative.
No.
She doesn't count.
You probably paid her off, didn't you?
Yeah. And my sis used to go behind me and see that I did the work right.
And say, Mother!
She didn't dust the mop boards.
That was Loy, huh?
That was Lloyd.
And what was Loy's responsibility?
Oh,
She was head supervisor.
Huh?
She liked to cook. Mom and Lloyd cook.
Oh.
And I
And where were you? Dusting the mop boards?
I was in the cinders.
You were in the cinders.
No, not really. But I never did learn to cook until after I married Daddy.
Really?
Mm-mm.
But Lloyd did.
Oh yeah, she was always a good cook.
Were you just not interested, or you just didn't get a chance?
Didn't get a chance.
No kidding. Hmm.
No.
So what else about growing up do you remember?
Do you remember any family trips that you took as a young girl?
No, we didn't take a lot of trips, Jana. We lived through the Depression, and the first trip that I remember was a trip to Yellowstone Park, and I was probably in high school.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That was quite a trip.
Oh,
Back
I
in
went to
those days.
Salt Lake once.
Yeah.
I remember my dad dragging me up to one of those, they had these lions sitting on these lion statues sitting by a big building. I don't know what building
Oh,
it
yeah.
was. And my dad had to just absolutely drag me. And I was dragging my feet because I was scared
the
of
lions?
them. Yes.
Scared they'd come alive,
So
huh?
you were really young then, huh?
Oh yeah.
Was it the Lion House, you think?
I don't know. I have no idea.
But lion statues, huh?
Lion statues. No, I'm
What was he
scared
doing
to
in Salt Lake? Just having a vacation?
I think just our daddy probably had to go down for business or something, and they took me with them, and they were always teasing me,
So when you went through the major depression, how old were you? As a child, I'm assuming?
I'm just a child. I remember my mom. She'd sew clothes for the kids out of things that people would give her that were partly worn, and she'd cut the good parts out and make clothes for us. I remember my first boughten coat. I think I was probably 6th or 7th grade,
Really?
and it was a blue coat, and I thought it was wonderful.
Really?
Yes.
First bought coat, huh?
Uh-huh.
Up to then, everything was made.
Yeah.
Grandma would make coats, huh?
Oh, she could make anything. She was a
Quite
good
the seamstress, huh?
You bet.
And your dad always had work? Was he ever out of work?
He was never out of work. Sometimes the people couldn't pay. They'd bring potatoes or
Really?
meat or something like that for payment.
For payment.
Hmm. And we never went hungry. But
Can you remember the feelings you had as a child in the depression? Was it
I wasn't afraid.
you were not fearful?
Because I never went without anything that we really needed.
Did you know any around you that did go without?
No.
So it didn't hit Bear Lake that
It
tough?
didn't. Well, if it was, I didn't know about it. I was too young to worry about it.
Now, didn't Grandma do something with a dress shop?
Yeah, but that was after she moved back to Paris.
And did she own that?
She and Aunt Nora Hymas were partners in that.
And what was it called? Do you remember?
The LaNea shop.
Leanne, huh?
Did you ever work in there, or did
No, I was married.
Oh, you were married then?
I was married then.
How long did she stay in business with that?
I don't know for sure.
Huh.
So tell us about your high
Like
school
60.
days.
My high school days? Oh, well, I had a good time. No, I loved to dance.
How many students did you have at Paris then? And were they a lot your age, or?
What?
Do you remember your graduating class, how many students there were?
I can't remember how many there were.
Small though, probably.
It was small.
But your love was dancing, huh?
Oh, I loved
Like-
to go
like
to
social
dance.
dancing?
Oh, yeah. Social dancing was, they had a dance every week. In Paris, they had a dance hall with a floor that they said was on springs, but it was actually built up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we danced to live music. They had an orchestra, and
Where was this at?
that was down, oh, it was down on a couple of blocks from where I lived on the corner.
Oh, really?
And they had a dance every week.
What kind of dancing did you do? Do you remember some of the names of them?
Oh, no, I can't remember. But I did love to dance, and you didn't go to a dance without a date. That was not proper.
So you had a date every week?
Well, for the most part, I remember
A steady one?
I had a steady boyfriend for a while.
And what was his name?
Grant Rich.
Oh!
But I went with other boys too. I went with quite a few other boys. I remember one week that I didn't have a date for the dance, and I was sitting up there just as sad as could be. And Blake came home and said, "Come on, sis, I'll take you to the dance. You'll be my date."
Aw.
So he took me down to see that I got to go. I was sitting in tears thinking I was going to miss a dance.
One dance not gone to, and you were a wallflower all of a sudden, huh?
Yeah. But anyway,
And what kind of things did you do in high school then, besides the dances? What did you like to do?
well, I liked drama.
And you were in the drama clubs, huh?
Yes.
Can you remember any shows you did?
Now I can't remember the name, but I just loved it. I thought it was great. That was my favorite subject. No,
It was drama.
I liked English, and I liked math with the exception of geometry, and I'm surprised I got through geometry.
So you had to marry a math teacher.
Oh, yeah.
So you told us a story when Heidi was here the other night about your drama experience. Remember you were auditioning or something, and they wanted you to show them how to do it or something. Do you remember what was going on
yeah. No, we were doing an operetta musical in the music department. And our teacher was Mr. Billiter. He was a German fellow, and he couldn't get some of the kids to do their lines right, and he finally looked at me and said, "LaNea, would you please read these lines for them?" And I did, and I thought, "Oh, he's going to make it so they'll hate me."
Mm-hmm.
So you got a lot of leading roles?
Well, yeah, I did. I got the award that year.
The
They
best
gave
game?
an award to a boy in the high school and one to a girl, and I got the
You
girl.
got the girl. Oh, cool.
So I thought that was good.
What else did you like? Were there any other clubs that you did?
And I can't. Yeah, I did pep club. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't thought about that. But I did. I can't remember.
Close friends. Tell me about who you would classify your very best friend.
In high school,
Uh-huh.
probably Jean Rich
And?
Jean Buxton. Then there was a gal by the name of Olga Hodge that was a real good friend of mine.
And what sorts of things did you swashbuckling
Huh?
gals do? What kind of things did you girls do
Oh,
that you like to do?
We used to go swimming up to the lake, and the lake was different entirely than
How?
it is.
Bear Lake?
Bear Lake.
Tell us
That beach at Fish Haven and Lakota, it was a public beach.
Oh.
It was open to everybody, and they had a dance hall, and they had confectionery that you could buy things, and then they had a dressing room that you could go and get dressed and go down and swim in the lake, boating, and everything. It was
So that would be the beach you went to most, was the Fish Haven beach?
Fish Haven. Uh-huh.
You didn't go to North Beach much?
I had been, yeah. I went up to North Beach to a dance once or twice.
But Fish Haven was kind of where it was at, huh?
Yeah, I went to Fish Haven dancing quite a bit.
The dance hall that you used to go to there, was that over at Garden City?
No,
Or was it in Fish Haven?
Fish Haven.
And is that where you met Daddy?
No, I met your father in St. Charles at a dance. Daddy was teaching school up there, and this brewer, Courtney Brewer, said, "Come on, Dawn, I want you to meet the best dancer in Bear Lake."
Uh-huh.
And it scared me so bad that I walked all over him. But it didn't scare him off.
No, he must have hung around for a while, huh?
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Were you still in high school when you met him then, or had
No.
you graduated?
I was graduated.
Like what, the summer after or something?
Yeah.
What were you doing at the time? I mean, were you just...
Where were you working?
Were you working somewhere?
Yeah, I worked in Lori and Roy lived in Montpelier. He worked as a body and fender man. He fixed
Roy did?
cars. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And I stayed over there with them and worked at the Modern Drugstore,
Doing what?
waiting on customers, of course.
Cashier?
You were behind the fountain, weren't you? A lot?
Sometimes, and I'd help them with anything in the store, you know.
So did Dad come in after he met you to see you at work?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But I was working there when I met him.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. Let's talk about a very important thing in her life before she met Dad. I believe it was a pageant, wasn't it?
Tell us about the pageant.
Let's not talk about that.
Go on, we need to.
Well, it was different in those days. You didn't have to have a talent,
Oh,
obviously.
come on. It was Miss Bear Lake.
Yeah.
And do you know how many people ran in it?
Yes, there were 45 girls
Holy cow, I'm impressed.
that walked across the stage in their
Dress?
clothes. And I didn't even plan to do it till the day of. And my friend said, "Oh, come on." It was Jean Buxton. "Come on, LaNea, let's go do that." And my parents were going on a fishing trip. So I said, "Okay." And we got all dolled
Would they not
up.
have liked you to do that?
They didn't care.
Mm.
They weren't there. And so after the thing was over and they chose me to be Miss Bear Lake, why, Jeannie went home first, and she saw my mom out in the yard, and she said, "Ethel, guess who's Miss Bear Lake?" "Oh, I don't know."
Were they mad at you?
Oh, no, they didn't care. Well,
What'd
they
your
knew
mom
I was
think?
going to do it, but they didn't. It didn't stop their fishing trip there.
So what kind of things did you do in the pageant? Was it like an evening gown?
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you have to do swimsuit?
Oh, no.
No swimsuit. It was just evening
it
gown,
was
and
just an evening gown.
they chose you on just your beauty, huh?
They weren't looking very hard.
You were the most beautiful in all of Bear Lake.
Yeah, right.
Honey. I like it.
Yeah, right.
Was this when you were a senior or after your senior year?
And that was when I was a senior.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were the reigning Miss Bear Lake when you met Dad?
No.
Had you given up your crown then?
I'd given it up. Yeah. Olga was the queen the next year.
Olga?
Olga Hodge.
Well,
My friend, she was older than I was by
Uh-huh.
a couple of years.
Who was your attendance? First runner-up was?
And there was a Kuntz girl. I can't remember. If I looked at the picture, I could tell you. A Kuntz girl from Bern. I can't remember.
And what kind of things did you have to do to fulfill your reign?
Oh, they wanted me to ride a horse. and at the fair, and I couldn't do that.
Did you say you chose the wrong gal?
So anyway, they settled for me riding in the parade and being sure to be there and go to the dance and that sort of thing.
And was it for a year?
Uh-huh.
Cool. Okay, what sports did you play?
I didn't like sports.
I came by that naturally, didn't I?
I did not like it.
Did you not do like tennis or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
She was a dancer.
Yeah?
Oh, a social dancer. That's all.
Yeah, now we know where Natalie gets it from.
What were your chores?
Oh, in the house?
Uh-huh.
Goodness. I remember once, we used to divide this work up. O'Neill and Francis lived with us when they were first married. And my mom always insisted that I get down on my hands and knees to mop the floors.
You come by that naturally, don't you?
Well, yeah, but I wasn't convinced when I was a kid. And I remember Mom and Lori were gone, and Francis said, it was our turn to mop the kitchen floor. And Francis said, "LaNea, let's hurry up and mop the floor with a mop stick while they're gone. They'll never know the difference."
Really?
So we did. We hurried up, and they didn't know.
They never found out.
They never found out.
You're going to carry that with you in the hereafter.
Probably.
That little lie.
I've heard that story before.
Have you?
Have you?
At my house.
Oh, that's
Oh.
true. Yeah.
But anyway, I did a little bit of everything as far as housework is concerned.
That kind of would come under the title something you would prefer to forget, huh?
I think I better forget
Are
that
there
one.
any more things that you'd like to tell us that you'd prefer to
Well,
forget?
if there was anything very serious, I'd probably blocked it out.
You've had time to do that.
Yeah,
What else do we have on there, Jan?
Well, I think I pretty much covered it.
you didn't cover my doll.
Oh,
Oh, yes. I asked you if you had any pets, and you said
No,
no, but your favorite toy was?
a big philo doll. It was a big baby doll. And I got it for Christmas. It cost $6. I remember that because that was lots of money in those days.
Well, back in those days, you'd work all day long for $1, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I worked when I was grown, I worked for $1 a day at the drugstore.
Uh-huh.
And they paid $6 for each for Lori one and me one.
Uh-huh.
But I prayed for a doll buggy, and I'd never got it.
And it almost what?
Well, I'd almost shook my faith.
What you have to do is be sure to pray and tell your parents what you're praying for.
Well, you see, I didn't do that. I didn't tell my mom I prayed to the Lord.
And you thought he'd deliver, huh?
I thought he would, but
He didn't do it.
But we always had to go to Grandma Jensen's on Christmas Day, and I remember how bad I hated to leave my Bilo doll and go to Grandma's. Couldn't wait to get back home and play with my toys
And where did Grandma Jensen live?
in Ovid.
In Oldham.
Mhm.
And where did Grandma's Finley, or was it,
Grandma Finley lived in Lanark,
which is kind of next door, isn't it?
just across 3 or 4 fields.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you go there often?
To Grandma Finley's? Yeah. About once a week, always, to see Grandma Finley.
And describe her to me.
Oh, she was a sweet lady.
Kind.
Kind. Mm-hmm. Grandpa was a sweet man.
Grandpa Finley was.
Grandma kind of run the roost off.
Did she?
Yes.
All good ladies do. How old did she live to?
I think she was in her 80s somewhere.
Really?
Can't remember for sure.
Was she the one that had a broken hip, or?
Uh-huh. And Grandma Jansen was very, very heavy. Can't tell you how.
Was she?
Oh, she was a fat lady. And she had an appendicitis operation. She couldn't live through. She didn't live through the anesthetic.
Really? She died on the
Died
table,
at,
huh?
About 50. She was in her young 50s.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And what was Grandpa Jensen like?
Oh, he was kind of a stern. I
Kinda
thought
gruff?
he was stern, but he was probably more kind than I thought.
Well, you were quite
I
young.
I was an impressionable kid.
Huh.
But
Did he die when you were there?
no, he didn't die. He lived for years after Grandma died.
And what was your dad like?
Oh, he was a neat guy. Just full of fun.
He was a little teased, don't you
He
think?
was
Would be a
teased,
good
yeah.
way to say that?
Yeah, he would. He liked to tease.
You were the youngest daughter. He had to have been able to get your way with him, don't you think?
Well, Lloyd could always get away.
Now, how is that?
Well, my dad always wanted a girl first. And
Really?
And he got 2 boys. When Lloyd came along, he thought she was everything.
Oh,
And then Blake came along. He was disappointed he didn't get another girl. And when I finally came, why, it was old.
it was old hat?
Old hat. No, they were good to me. I just, they teased me a lot
Uh-huh.
in my family. And I was kind of a dumb little thing. I took the teasing kind of hard, I think.
Did you?
And your mom, what was she like?
She worked hard,
Was she a hard worker?
yes, to keep the house clean and to make clothes and things for her kids out of things that people would give her to make over.
She was a very proper lady.
Yes,
Primpy.
but she knew how. She could look at a pattern and make it, fix it, do it over. She was really quite the seamstress.
So did you inherit any of that? Did she try to teach you that?
Yeah, Mom, I took 4-H,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't really learn to sew until my babies were born, and then I was living with her, and of course she showed me how to sew, and I made everything that the little boys wore while Dwayne was gone to war.
Mm.
I even made their coats.
What else is on there about the early years, Jen?
Well, life in Montpelier, we didn't talk an awful lot about that. Is there anything more that you can think of about that?
I don't think so. I can't remember a whole lot about.
Oh, you can tell me about M Hill.
Oh, we always climbed M Hill on Easter.
It was an Easter tradition, huh?
It was an Easter trip,
What'd
boy.
you do, a little egg hunt up there or something?
No, we'd pack a lunch and climb up to the end and sit down on the rocks and eat it.
Okay. On Easter, huh?
Uh-huh.
As a family or just you
Just
and your friends?
kids.
Just the
Just
kids.
us kids.
Huh.
That was
That was Easter, huh?
Easter, yeah.
By then you were antsy to get outside and play probably, huh?
Yeah.
Did you have long hard winters in Paris and Montpelier?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Yeah, we did. But I always had to walk to school when I was in grade schools, and we lived a long ways from the school.
Really? Like how many? How many blocks?
Oh, I'm sure it must have been a mile at least.
Really?
It was an old rock school. And then when I got to the 7th and 8th grade, I just lived about half a block from the school. junior high.
An Old Rock school that
Yeah.
had
Washington School is the name of it.
Washington. Was it, like, what grades did you have in there?
First to sixth.
And did they have separate classrooms for
Oh,
them?
yes.
All?
Uh-huh.
And who was your favorite teacher there, do you know? Can you remember one?
My first grade teacher I loved, Mrs. Weaver.
Mrs. Weaver. Because?
She was kind and sweet to me. Good. But I had other good teachers too.
I'm thinking. Think of
You
any-
always had cars to travel around in, right?
Yeah. I remember when I was just a little girl, I thought it was the swankiest car. My dad brought home a Chandler. It was the name of the car. And it had, oh, it was a big car. And it had, between the front and the back seats was two little jump seats that would fold down.
Really?
And we thought that was the neatest thing.
Chandler.
We'd get to ride on and sit on those jump seats.
Who made a Chandler? Do you know?
I don't know.
Was that the name of it?
It was a Chandler.
I'll be darned. What color was it? Do you remember?
Can't remember that either.
How old were you?
I don't even think I was in school yet, but
Just
I might have been.
preschool age, huh?
Yeah. But
You remember any special holidays? Anything special about your Christmases or Easter you climbed the mountain?
yeah, like I say, that one Christmas was my favorite Christmas because I got the doll and a table and chairs and some dishes. And I had a little food grinder, a little metal food grinder about so big. And I thought that I had everything.
Mhm.
Did you have any special holiday traditions that you did every year, or just with family and friends?
I can't remember that.
Well, I'm wondering if we got our traditions of opening Christmas the night before from your family, or was that Dad's family?
And that, I think both, they're Scandinavian people.
And that was that, huh?
And that's where that came from.
So as a child, you opened presents on Christmas
Oh,
Eve?
yeah, the presents under the tree.
Mhm.
And then we'd have to wait for morning for the rest.
As a child, can you remember any particular incident that was particularly heartbreaking or troubling or brought you a great deal of sadness?
I think. Oh, yeah, we were planning to build onto this house that we lived in Montpelier. Daddy was gonna build upstairs rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and we had seen the contractor and got a bid from him, and then my daddy got terribly ill, and he had a real bad appendicitis operation. And they said, that's it, our upstairs remodel went out the window. And that kind of disappointed us because we thought we'd get separate rooms.
You shared a room
Oh, heavens yes.
with Lloyd,
Lloyd.
and then the boys shared a room, or what?
Uh-huh, yeah. Yeah. 3 boys.
3 boys shared a room, huh?
Oh, yeah. There just wasn't that much.
So you
room.
must have had a 3-bedroom house?
Do you know, when I think about that house, I don't know. The way it was arranged, I think they made a front bedroom out of what probably would have been maybe even a living room.
Really?
It had a great big kitchen. We ate all our meals and did the cooking, and they had a cook stove. It wasn't electric in those days. You used
Wood.
coal and wood in it, and that helped keep the house warm. And then you'd go into the living room, and we heated with a heat roller. It stood. It was almost an attractive thing. It stood up like this, and you'd feed it, and you'd feed the fuel into the front of the stove.
What kind of fuel was it?
Coal.
Cool.
Really?
Coal or wood, whichever. And that heated the rest of the house.
So it went up, was there an upstairs to the house or?
We
No,
didn't have
there
an
was no
upstairs. That's what we were gonna build.
Yeah.
Did you have a downstairs?
Yeah, we had a basement.
Finished or just?
Uh-uh. No.
Huh.
And
Do you remember the
Oh,
address of
nice.
this place?
I could show you. I don't remember the
We'll
address.
we'll have her take us there.
Okay.
Someday. You know who
But it-
bought that house?
Uh-uh.
Mesherly's. Do you remember them in Soda?
I don't.
They bought the home that I was raised
Really?
in.
And it was heated with a heatrolla, huh?
Uh-huh.
I think we had one of those in the lab.
Really?
A heatrolla.
I've never heard of that before.
Yep. And all we had is radio. There was no such thing as television.
Do you remember the first television?
Oh, indeed. It was one that Grandpa and Grandma Elsie bought. They had the first television in Central, and all of the neighbors would come to watch that television, and she would lock the front door so my little boys could come in and see.
Oh. She was throwing a party and she didn't want any kids, huh?
She didn't want kids there. And of course this was so new, my kids were just dying to come in and see it. Sit down on the floor and look. It wouldn't hurt. She wouldn't.
Well, were you ever cordially invited yourself?
I don't know that we were invited. I think we went over.
What kind of a picture
So-
did they get?
Snowy.
It was snowy, huh?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
But everyone thought it was quite wonderful.
Oh well, yeah. Imagine seeing.
So, television came out really when you were married?
Yeah.
Really?
And I guess Gary and Don were probably 4 or 5 years old.
So what do you remember about, did you listen to programs on the radio, or was that a big
yes.
thing in your life?
Oh
Radio?
yes, the radio was a big thing.
What was your favorite programs?
Oh, Amos and Andy. I can't remember, Janet. I'm sure there were some favorites, but in the evenings, why we'd sit down and listen to Amos and Andy and some of the funny ones.
Mm.
Did you do that regularly, like every evening, or was it just once in a while?
No, I don't think it was every night. Not like TV.
It's not like
but,
TV, yeah.
But all we had during the war is radio.
Mhm.
I'd get a letter from DeWin, and well, he wrote it 2 weeks ago. Is he still alive?
Mhm.
You know, and we followed the news on the radio as close as we could. It was a very worrisome time.
And how else did you get those? I guess just newspapers and radio?
Radio and newspapers. Letters that would come. Sometimes I'd get 2 or 3 at a time, because they always took these letters and made sure that the soldier wasn't giving away any secrets. They'd
Censor them first?
censor them first and send them on to you.
Anything else on that
I'm
list?
just trying to think. Did you ever have birthday parties? Can you remember any birthday parties as a young child?
I can't remember any time.
Huh?
I don't think so.
Did Grandma ever do little tea parties and stuff with you? What kind of a mother did she get in and play with you?
I don't remember her doing that, Janet. But it's funny, I was kind of a mama's girl when I was little. Alice used to come over, and say, can LaNea come and play? And Mother'd say, would you like to go over and play with Alice for a while? I'd rather play with Mama.
Oh, are you serious?
And Mom would say, oh, honey, go and play with Alice for a little while. Just go play for an hour. So I'd go and feel bad because I had to go.
You're a homebody.
Yeah.
You were a homebody, huh? How funny.
I was just little, I was.
Were you and Loy close when you were little tiny?
Not particularly.
I saw your eyes bat on that one, like, which answer should I get here?
Not really particularly.
She just kind of walked all over you, huh?
She did. She really did.
And you didn't want to fight back, huh?
Is that all of it?
I think so.
Is that all it is?
You take a look and see. See if anything jogs your memory.
Okay.
Anything that you'd like to talk about?
Anything you'd like to forget about growing up?
Well, like I say, if there is, I blocked it out.
Okay, I think we probably covered it.
I think we have to.
No, take about 99% of that and erase it, would you?
Why?
This is uncomfortable for Mother.
Why? Why would that be uncomfortable for
Oh,
you?
I don't know.
She'll get going when she talks about her marriage, or
Pardon?
you'll get going when you talk about your marriage and your husband and your family.
Yeah,
That's when you're gonna.
those were the good old days.
Those were the good ones, huh?
You betcha.
I think they're pretty good now.
Yeah, they are.
Dang rights.
Yes,
Okay.
they are.
Go ahead.
You were what?
When I was in the first grade,
Uh-huh.
this little boy by the name of Richard Stevens, he thought he loved me.
How old?
6.
Sixth grade? Oh, first grade.
6. First grade.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so he'd steal his sister's jewelry and bring it to me. And that's when I decided I didn't like him a bit. But I remember his father owned and run the theater in Montpelier. And he asked my mom if I could go down and see a show with him.
First grade, huh?
First grade. I went down to the show and saw the show.
Ooh, so what? That was your first date, huh?
I
First
guess
grade.
so. But, oh, I didn't like him because he'd bring me things from his sister's jewelry, and that turned me off right now.
That's good. That's good.
What was his name?
Richard Stevens.
Richard Stevens.
Yep.
How about your church callings as a young girl?
Oh yeah, I taught little children,
Primary?
primary.
How
That
old?
was after you married.
No, that was before I was married.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Top primary?
Uh-huh. Oh, I thought it was a Sunday school class.
Were your mom and dad always active?
My mom and dad would see. We went to church by ourselves. They didn't go.
The kids did?
Uh-huh. My mom and dad didn't. No, when I was in high school, Mom would go to church, but Daddy, he got religious later in his years.
Didn't he serve a mission?
Yes, he did. But
Where did he go on a mission?
he went back. Trying to think. Pennsylvania. Back in those states. And he went without purse or script.
Wow.
How old was he?
Well, he was just a young man. I mean, probably 19.
Mhm.
And they called him to go on a mission, and when they went on a mission, they didn't get any money from the church or parents.
Mm. How'd they survive?
Daddy played the violin, and he played in an orchestra
Out on his mission.
out on his mission to make a little money.
Hmm.
And well, he said there were times when they were just plain hungry, and then someone would invite them to eat.
Mm. And then, after his mission, he came back. Tell about his meeting Ethel.
Oh, my dad had a cousin out there by the name of Hymas, Willard Hymas, and Daddy was going to go home, and Willard said, when you get back there, give my regards to my girlfriend, Ethel Finley. My dad said, okay. He came back, and when he met Mother, and he made sure that he got her married to him before Willard got home.
So he did say hi.
He said hi.
Will you marry me?
He took her away from him.
Oh, that's good. Anything else?
Oh, I was just reminiscing. Thinking of.
Teen.
Oh, was she really?
Yeah, they married young in those days.
Huh. And then a baby right off the bat, or?
Yeah, I think Donnell was probably within the first year.
Mm.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. That good?
Couldn't think of anything else.
Go.
And so for all you lovely grandchildren, you need to know Grandma Nea's first date was at the age of 6. Not 16, but 6. Grandma was a hot little number.
Oh yeah, sure.
Uh-huh. Took a man for his jewelry and his candy she could get at the show.
I'm not sure we had candy at the show.
Didn't you?
We just went and sat and watched the movie.
Do you remember what movie?
I don't even
Don't
remember.
have a clue.
Uh-uh.
Okay.